Regulation in competitive markets is established on maintaining honesty and fairness when it comes to the law of supply and demand. For over 2 decades, a battle persisted between two corporate giants and members of several health and religious activist organizations. Problems arose in the mid-1970s when Bristol-Myers, a multi-billion-dollar U.S. company with a wide range of products, from pharmaceuticals to cosmetics, and Nestle, a Switzerland-based food and nutrition company, faced criticism for their marketing attempts at encouraging women to exchange breastfeeding for powdered infant formula in third-world countries, where there was a general ignorance about hygiene and unclean water. Critical backlash. Critics believed that because the powdered formula had to be mixed with water, it was contributing to malnutrition and a higher infant mortality rate in infants in those countries. Women in these countries were generally unaware of the dangers of mixing unclean water with the infant formula, and because the formula was so expensive, some women were actually diluting it in order to stretch the life of the product. The critics also maintained that the companies were taking advantage of the new market by boosting sales efforts in parts of Africa, the Middle East, and Latin America, and resorting to questionable sales tactics, like the use of milk nurses and mothercraft workers. These pseudo-saleswomen, who were actually not healthcare providers, wore nurses' attire and went into hospitals, clinics, and private homes to instruct new mothers on the benefits of using the new infant formulas. In some cases, these women were even paid on a commission or bonus basis. In response, the Protein-Calorie Group of the United Nations and the 27th World Health Assembly issued statements and resolutions which stressed breastfeeding as the ideal way to promote a harmonious and physical and mental development in infants. Bristol-Myers responds. The ICCR, a division of the National Council for Churches, issued an annual report on social responsibility, which then prompted Bristol-Myers to respond and disclaim any responsibility for the formula scandal. Despite this, Bristol-Myers was still asked to report on all sales and promotional activities regarding the infant formula. The company prepared a 19-page report called The Infant Formula Marketing Practices of Bristol-Myers Company in Countries Outside the United States. However, the report was perceived as an inadequate attempt at trying to disguise the issue. Government involvement. After receiving added pressure from the Securities and Exchange Commission, Bristol-Myers agreed to send a report to stockholders that included evidence from third world countries, sales details in poverty areas, and a description of the medical problems caused by their practices. Bristol-Myers also agreed to end its consumer-oriented advertising and abandon the use of milk nurses. Around this time, an amendment was also made to the International Development and Food Assistance Act, which stated that businesses involved in the manufacture, marketing, or sale of infant formula have a responsibility to conduct their overseas activities in ways which do not have adverse effects on the nutritional health of people in developing nations. Nestle's response. In contrast to Bristol-Myers' crisis management, Nestle took a much more proactive approach when responding to critical backlash. They led several large baby formula companies to form the International Council on Infant Food Industries and collaborated on the publication of a code of ethics for infant formula promotion. One major weakening factor, however, was that Bristol-Myers actually refused to join the council. In fact, reacts. A new citizens' action group was developed called the Infant Formula Action Council, or InFact. The group formed a national campaign and boycotted all Nestle products until the company changed its policies regarding formula promotion, mass media advertising, and the distribution of free samples in hospitals, clinics, and personal residences. In response, Nestle made representatives available to groups all over the United States as part of their public relations strategy. They met with a variety of health advocacy groups and medical professionals to stress that the root causes of infant malnutrition and mortality in third world countries were actually poverty, lack of food, ignorance, and poor sanitation. Nestle stated that in most third world countries, infants actually needed a supplement to their mother's milk in order to sustain normal physical and mental growth. Boycotts continue. Still, despite the company's response, the boycotts against Nestle resumed. In fact, endorsed the Infant Formula Action Day, where activists took part in activities like fasts, leafletting, and even the Boston Nest Tea Party. Later, in fact, also sponsored the Spook Nestle program, which called for a boycott on trick-or-treaters accepting any kind of Nestle candy on Halloween. Who steps in? It wasn't until the 1980s that the World Health Organization, or WHO, stepped in to establish the International Code of Marketing of Breast Milk Substitutes, which finally restricted the practice of giving out free formula samples to new mothers and also prohibited the use of mothercraft nurses. The code also required that the manufacturers remove any product labels that idealized the use of infant formula. The Baby-Friendly Hospital Initiative. In 1992, a global campaign called the Baby-Friendly Hospital Initiative was issued by UNICEF and the World Health Organization to focus support on breastfeeding and help end the supply of free and low-cost formula to maternity institutions. Reactions from the AHP and Nestle were very positive, and both agreed to stop supplying hospitals with free samples of their formula. However, Action's executive director, Dr. Adrian N. Resnick, said, "Only an intense campaign of consumer and media pressure will force these corporations to quit stalling and do what's right." Meanwhile, Nestle continued its commitment to ending free baby food supplies to hospitals of third world countries. Nestle updated its statement in December of 1990 and said they will continue to work with international agencies, governments, non-governmental organizations, and all other concerned to end all supplies of infant formula in development countries except for the limited number of infants who need it. Global results from the Baby-Friendly Hospital Initiative. The Baby-Friendly Hospital Initiative is still an ongoing and worldwide effort. In many other countries around the world, hospitals have already received baby-friendly hospital designations from their national authorities, and more than 19,000 international maternity facilities have received the Baby-Friendly Award. UNICEF estimates that more than 1 million healthcare providers worldwide have been trained through the program. In China, after 2 years of the Baby-Friendly Hospital Initiative implementation, exclusive breastfeeding rates doubled in rural areas and increased from 10% to 47% in urban areas. In Nicaragua, breastfeeding rates have increased from 47% prior to implementation of the Baby-Friendly Hospital Initiative to nearly 100% in 1999. In Poland, between 1995 and 1998, implementation of the Baby-Friendly Hospital Initiative resulted in an increase of rooming in from 19% to 60%, and the practice of supplementing breastfed infants fell from 54% in 1988 to 22% in 1998. In Zambia, implementation of the Baby-Friendly Hospital Initiative is credited with a raise in the exclusive breastfeeding rate from 16% in 1992 to 35% in 1997. This campaign has brought very intense changes in developing countries. Controversies continue. In 1999, Nestle released a publication titled Nestle Implementation of the WHO Code in defense of its marketing practices. As mentioned earlier, by the late 1970s, Nestle had stopped all consumer advertising and direct sampling to mothers. By October 1982, the company had adopted articles of the WHO Code as Nestle policy. A few of these adoptions included no advertising to the general public, no sampling to mothers, no mothercraft workers, or use of commission and bonus for sales, no use of infant pictures on any of the product labeling, no point-of-sale advertising, no financial or material inducements to promote products, no samples to physicians except in 3 specific situations: if it's a new product formulation, or if there's a new graduate physician. And there should be a statement of superiority of the breastfeeding on all labels and materials. The battle continues. The battle continues and has become more serious in recent years. In 2008, the International Baby Food Action Network, based in Malaysia, accused Nestle and other manufacturers of violating the code or stretching the restrictions with abandon. Nestle responded to these accusations through its corporate website. On the website, there are pages specifically devoted to WHO Code compliance, the Healthy Kids program, and overall corporate social responsibility. While this issue may lay dormant at the moment, the battle between natural breastfeeding and alternative infant formula feeding methods will likely be ongoing for years between these major manufacturing giants and health industry activists.